Happy Monday, we're back. You're watching NBA Now live here on Chat Sports. Chase Senior here with you. Another loaded live show coming your way on both YouTube as well as Rumble. We have to start off with this, though. Today's show presented to you by Aura, the all-in-one digital safety tool that can keep you and your family safe. Nowadays, millions of people per year, they get their bank accounts hacked, their identities stolen. That won't happen with the security blanket. That is Aura. 14-day free trial if you use that link at the bottom of your screen. It's aura.com/chatsports. We'll put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. Now, the official show will start in about 10 minutes, but up until that point, it's all about you. Shout out your city. Where are you watching from today? We're coming to you live from Dallas, Texas on another beautiful Monday. It's been 100 degrees for the last, 3 weeks, and all throughout this week, it's going to be 100 degrees, but that will not allow our energy level to waver. We'll still bring you the best NBA coverage on the entire internet. So let's see where the people are tuned in from. We'll give you some shout outs. Gold Eagle 99 is in the crib. Cristo Foro is also here. Durant to Portland would be awesome. Him and Damian Lillard would be fun basketball to watch. Brandon Roan, hi, how you doing today? Big fan of the Golden State Warriors channel. Subscribe, youtube.com/Warriors TV. Already put a Warriors video up today. We'll put another one up after the show tonight. USA from Brandon. Alaska's in the house. Louisiana, Minnesota, Arizona, Charlotte, North Carolina, Austin and El Paso, Texas, Belize, Boston, Corpus Christi, Iowa, Austin, California, LA, Buckeye, Arizona, Harlem, New York, Lafayette, Louisiana, Las Vegas. Let's do a couple more here real quick. Where are you watching from? Sydney, Australia is here. KD to Chicago from Evan. Utah from Lupe. Houston, Texas from the H-Town boys. And Chicago from Face, Burnside, Kentucky. Canada is also here, as well as Michigan. It's one of my favorite parts of the gig. We have an opportunity to chop it up with people who are tuned in from all across the planet. Donovan Mitchell trade rumors coming up around the corner. Will he get traded? Will he not? Brian Windhorst reporting on D-Mitch. We'll unpack exactly what he had to say, but until that point, how about this one? Spite his team next year. Will it be the Jazz type J? Will it be a different team, type O for other? And if you go O for other, let us know which team it is going to be for D-Mitch in 2022. Catching up, James Heiner, Elmira, New York, interviewed for a job there out of college. Didn't go there, which ended up working out for me. DFW from Jay, Hornets pick up Ayton. They need a big, although they addressed it in the draft with Mark Williams. Santa Ana, California. Wales is here as well. Now the responses are coming in for this question right to my right. J for Jazz from Edu, Buck Skull, Jazz, Richard Lee, Heat, Sheesh Trent Baller, different team, Joseph, Jazz, H-Town Boys, Jazz. Looks as though that's the consensus. By the way, while we're at it, and when I have your attention, our poll question is also up. What do you like better? 66% of the votes right now. NBA free agency, 34% of the votes with the NBA draft. What gets crazier? Free agency. What's fun? Both. What do I like? Both, because it is my job to cover both. If I had to slight lean, it's probably free agency because just more intriguing storylines to talk about, although I do really enjoy scouting some of these prospects. Speaking of these prospects, that's what you call a segue in the business. Best player in the Summer League so far has been who? Probably Paolo Banchero for me. Chet Holmgren has had some flashes. Way too many people are already saying that Jabari Smith is going to be a bust. I disagree. Reminds me a little bit of Evan Mobley. Needs to develop the handle, but my man, while he can't dribble, shot 40% from distance last year, can be a high-level defender. Sheesh Trent Baller. I see you. Chua Lore, Trey Live, James from the Alamo City. What's good? Roach So Loaded saying the draft takes too long. As compared to the NFL draft, it's only one night. NFL draft is 3 days. LeBron, the greatest of all time from LeGoat James. No surprise there. Skopje, Macedonia, Scottie Pippen Jr., James Wiseman, Cole Swider from Christopher Flores. We'll talk about him a little bit today. Mark Williams played great defense. He's a good defender. Let's see. Chet Holmgren from Richard Lee. Quentin Grimes from Drip Moore. Saw a pull-up triple that he hit yesterday. He could be really good. Next coming of Allen Houston. That's what Marshall Green is saying. Chet Holmgren from Rodrigo. James Wiseman from Brandon. Keegan Murray has been a beast. Yeah, he's been a beast, and he's arguably been the best. LeBron Betta from LeGoat. Chet, Murray, Chet, again from Arthur Scales. Dyson Daniels from Squints. You know who's been really good too, falling under the radar? Benedict Mathurin. Another Quentin Grimes is here. Jaden Hardy all day. Only played one game. How is Sharif O'Neal playing? Very sparingly. Now, we do have a super chat that we want to get to. This one coming in from Timothy Peterson. Last week, things got a little bit crazy during one of our live shows, and we missed this $2 super chat from Timothy. He reached out to us, and we're happy to pop it up on the screen and get to it. Our apologies for not seeing it last week. Thousands of people watch, and we get a lot of comments, and sometimes these super chats get lost in the shuffle. No excuse by us, just letting you know. But this coming in from Timothy Peterson, he asked us this on July 4th. Random question. Your top 3 of NBA general managers / bosses. It's a really good question. I'm going to put Pat Riley up there. Masai Ujiri has to be up there as well, and Sam Presti. Those are my 3, and really no particular order. You can make the argument for any 3 of those general managers to be the top at their craft at the NBA level, but both have done a great job, or all 3 have done a great job of identifying talent, both in America and overseas, putting together coaching staffs that develop that talent, maximizing some of those players, and year in, year out, these teams are pretty competitive. Now, I understand OKC hasn't been competitive as far as playoff chances go over the last couple of years, but what OKC was able to do with KD and Russell Westbrook, James Harden, was impressive. Then that kind of falls apart, but they've been able to rebuild along the road, and now they have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, Lou Dort, Poku, really good young team, and I love what they've done in the draft over the last couple of years, and the future really bright with those players and that draft capital. Masai Ujiri has a ring, so those are the 3 right there, and then Pat Riley, he's just the godfather. You can make the argument that nobody's been better than him as an NBA executive over time in the history of the league. He's been just uncanny. And then you put on top of the fact that he's been a championship-winning head coach as well. 2 mailbags coming your way on NBA Now by Chat Sports. If you have a question for me to answer, a couple ways for you to get involved. You can super chat us like Timothy Peterson did. You can use the hashtag NBA to skip the line. You got to super chat us, but hashtag NBA allows you to get your questions answered by me. And we'll run through as many questions as we can during our 2 mailbags, a great segment where you have an opportunity to be a part of the show like me as the host and ask any question that is simmering in your mind. Another question for you, who will Kevin Durant play for next year? Will it be the Nets? Will it be the Blazers? Will it be the Raptors, Phoenix Suns, Miami Heat? Get those predictions in right now. Where will KD play next year? Will he bolt and get traded elsewhere? Will he stay in Brooklyn? Let me know in the comment section, and we will give you some shout-outs before we officially start the show, which is coming up right around the corner. Arthur Scales already getting a question in. Mark Shaw saying, ooh, yeah, ooh, that's what I'm saying to our show that we have on the docket. Slam Session, he's in the comment section. So, too, is Brandon Roan. He says Suns. Christopher Flores, Mavericks. Don't think they had the trade assets to give up. Evan Henders getting a question in. Good job by you. Jay Fish, Suns. Charlie, Bulls. Envision, Nets. Chualor, Nets. Luis Pineda, Clippers. Couple of good destinations there. Some realistic, some not, but fun to talk about nonetheless. After our YouTube show wraps up, we'll once again be going live exclusively on Rumble, just in a separate browser right now. Open up a separate tab, rumble.com/NBA now, plug in that link. You can actually turn on our live show right now, mute it, but then by the time that we go live and we're off of YouTube, we'll go live exclusively on Rumble. We're going to be talking about Kevin Durant potentially going to the Golden State Warriors and the fact that Steph Curry is open to the idea. You don't want to miss it, but we'll be live exclusively and only on Rumble as part of our After Hours segment. So we'll shut off the YouTube stream and then we'll run over to Rumble after the show is over. Up until that point, so much to get to. We're talking news and rumors, 2 mailbags. Use the hashtag NBA, better yet, super chat us. Your donations allow us to feed our families. And then we'll also have our final NBA free agency grades. Pretty much all of the moves have been made up to this point. So we'll take a look at some free agency grades. That's all coming up. We'll talk about Donovan Mitchell a little bit. We gave you a little bit of a preview right there. Before we do that, subscribe to the channel. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv. We continue to grow like crazy here at Chat Sports. We appreciate all of you for being a part of the family. Without further ado, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and let's start today's show here on NBA Now. All right, here we go. Welcome into NBA Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. Hope all of your weeks are off to a fine start. Before we dive into the latest NBA news and rumors, got to give a shout out to Aura for making today's show possible. The best online digital safety tool that can keep you and your family safe in an era where there are so many fraudulent online hackers who steal your information and hack your bank accounts. With Aura, you don't have to worry about that, and they're offering a free 14-day free trial. If you use that link at the bottom of your screen, it's aura.com/chatsports. So we start off our NBA news and rumors segment with getting to the latest on Donovan Mitchell. Will he get traded? Will he stay with the Utah Jazz? Down the road, will he demand a trade? We're unpacking it all. It's coming from Brian Windhorst on ESPN this morning. He said NBA executives think that Donovan Mitchell will be available for a trade, quote, at some point. According to Tim McMahon, the buzz is that Danny Ainge, not convinced he can be the face of a contending team, which, if you're Donovan Mitchell, that's a little bit of a shot if that is in fact true. Danny Ainge has experience as an NBA championship-winning executive with the Boston Celtics, has had a lot of successful years running a front office, and he's seen his fair share of star players. Now, I think Donovan Mitchell is a star. I'm not sure I'm going to deem him as a superstar. More on D-Mitch, he reportedly won't force a trade, but there was so much talk, so much chatter going into the offseason about him being unhappy. Was it because of the situation in Utah, or was it because of Rudy Gobert, who has since gotten traded? Before we continue to unpack all of this, let me ask you this. I want you to look into your crystal balls right now and get that comment section flowing. Donovan Mitchell will play with which team in 2022? Where will the Spider be at? J for the Jazz, O for other. Let me know right now in the comment section. Now, when you watch Donovan Mitchell, and when you think about the idea of Donovan Mitchell, he's a win-now player. He's already in his prime in his mid-20s. He's certainly rounding into form and has rounded into form over the last couple of years. So a player like that wants to be on a team, ideally, that can win right now. But with the construction of this Jazz roster, they're not a good basketball team right now after they gave away Rudy Gobert and got some pretty solid pieces back. I think Jared Vanderbilt is actually somewhat underrated, but the point here being Jazz aren't built like a team that can make a deep playoff run, which is what Donovan Mitchell is suited to help a team do right now. You take a look at what he's been able to do over the last 3 years. We're talking about a premium scorer in this league who's still developing his offensive craft, has had a couple of really big and impressive moments throughout the NBA playoffs. 25 points per game, a little less than 5 dimes. Him being a primary ball handler, I'd like to see him a little bit better in that passing category. Shoots the basketball a lot, so your offense probably going to be centered around Donovan Mitchell as the focal point, 20 field goal attempts per game, and the shooting split's pretty solid at 44.5% and nearly 37% from downtown. So we'll see what happens on the Donovan Mitchell front. He's made the All-Star team each of the last 3 years. He's a really good offensive player, a very bad defensive player. If he wants to be called a superstar player, I want to see more effort on the defensive end. I want to see him look to get his teammates involved a little bit more often. Now, make sure you subscribe to us here at Chat Sports. We've been live pretty much every single day of NBA free agency, and we're closing in less than 100 people away from 318,000 subscribers. A big reason we've been able to grow like this, we push out multiple videos per day covering the NBA, NFL, and college football. We're going to continue to keep it humming. We're going to continue to keep it moving, and we appreciate your support along the way. Hit that red sub button down below or head to youtube.com/chatsportstv to join the Chat Sports family. Now to the latest on Kevin Durant. Teams have been reportedly not willing to meet the Nets' asking price for Durant. And if you think about this, the Rudy Gobert trade, and the details of it, what was included in that trade package, it reset the market. Kind of like Christian Kirk in the National Football League was setting the record at that point for the most money handed to a wide receiver, which then in turn caused the wide receiver market to explode. It's kind of the same thing going on in the NBA with the Rudy Gobert trade changing the market, and now the Nets asking price for a better player in KD, who's championship worthy in my opinion, as compared to Rudy Gobert, is extraordinarily high. More coming from Brian Windhorst on this front. They don't have the trade offers that they like. The Nets making this maneuver and sort of letting it be known in the market that they might have Durant just come back, I think is a reaction to the offers that they're getting. And obviously the market may be slow up to this point, but very, very quickly considering the fact that Kevin Durant is a stud, he's box office, he's special, one of the best offensive players of all time, that trade market could heat up in an instant. Couple of tweets we want to get to. This really a variety of reports going down on the Kevin Durant front. This one, Florida and Miami based from Barry Jackson. Heat general manager Andy Ellisberg and Nets general manager Sean Marks were seen talking this morning in Las Vegas per sources. Heat continue its pursuit of Kevin Durant. That came on the 11th, which was on Monday. So the Heat, they've been rumored to be in on KD up there. As far as the betting odds, we'll see if they make a big swing for Kevin Durant. We know the Godfather Pat Riley always willing to take big chances. As for KD, going back to the Bay for a Golden State Warriors reunion. More coming from Brian Windhorst on Get Up. Steph Curry not shutting down a Kevin Durant trade to the Warriors per Windy. Yeah, you already know. The real ones know. Steph Curry's got the kind of clout where he can shut this down. But up to this point, he's not. Although the other day on NBC Sports Bay Area, we covered it on our Warriors channel, Steph did say, I think our roster is pretty much set. But as we know, go back to that previous point I just made a few moments ago, things in the NBA can change in an instant. Hashtag this league. Now, I want you to get your votes in and your predictions in with this next poll question. Who will Kevin Durant play for next year? I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that he returns to the Brooklyn Nets. Could he get traded to Phoenix, Miami, Toronto, sleepy contenders for a KD trade destination? Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, we still have so much to get to on the show, but first, I want to tell you more about Aura. You think about it, right? We're on our phones, we're on our computers at all hours of the day. I know for me, I've tried to knock down my screen time over time, but the point here being, so much of our information is stored online when it comes to our identity as well as our bank accounts, and Aura does everything and more to keep you and your family safe. If you head to aura.com/chatsports, you can start your free trial today. We're talking financial fraud protection, identity theft protection, online and device security, and these family plans can protect up to 5 people. So it's not just you who's getting protected here. 14-day free trial if you plug in that link. One more time, it's aura.com/chatsports. I'll put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. Is Deandre Ayton going to get traded to the Indiana Pacers? We covered this lightly last week, but over the weekend and over the last couple of days, as things continue to transpire on the rumors front, this is picking up some steam, I believe, and it could involve Myles Turner. Brian Windhorst saying the Pacers very close to giving Ayton a contract extension, but of course, if that's the case, it would have to be a part of a sign-and trade. Windy on Ayton. We believe that the Indiana Pacers very close to giving Deandre Ayton an offer sheet or executing a sign-and trade. I guess it's if it's an offer sheet, the Suns would have to match, and if they don't, he could just walk as a free agent, obviously, to Indiana. The Pacers had to do some business over the weekend and complete the Malcolm Brogdon trade, and that is opening up enough cap space to almost give DeAndre Ayton the max contract that he's looking for. We could see something with the Pacers and Ayton as early as today. Now, as part of our live show, it is 5:20 p.m. Eastern, 2:20 p.m. Pacific. No trade has happened for DeAndre Ayton. Now, you look at what he's done over the last 4 years. As a former number 1 overall pick, he's been very good. Hasn't been great. Wouldn't go as far as to say that he's a star, but I think he can become one of the league's best bigs in the next year or two, because this guy is still young. He's rounding into form, and he continues to improve and evolve his game. 2018-19, 16-10 with about a block per game. 2019-20, best year of his NBA career. 38 games played, but remember, that was during the NBA bubble season. 18 points, 11.5 boards, a block and a half per game. But the block numbers, they've really fluctuated throughout his career. And for him to be called one of the best two-way centers in the league, I want to see him insert exert his dominance a little bit more, both offensively and defensively, but more so defensively. Less than a block per game for a guy that athletic, that big, that spry doesn't cut it for me. But again, I think that Deandre Ayton can continue to get better, and I think his best basketball lies ahead of him. Now, if the Pacers give him a max deal, will you agree with it? Because that's the question right here on your screen to my right. Is DeAndre Ayton worth a max contract? Y for yes, N for no. Let us know once more in the comment section and let your voices be heard. Want to quickly do an NBA Summer League roundup. I love the NBA Summer League. It gives us that excitement to look into some of these evaluations and these draft prospects after the NBA draft and after really the heat and peak of NBA free agency dies down. So a Summer League roundup here. A couple of players have really shown up and showed out. I also want to tell you to pump your brakes on a particular prospect. For Keegan Murray, he continues to shine for the Sacramento Kings, and that pick looks to be a really good selection for Sacramento. I understand it's Summer League, but I think he has all the makings of being a very good player over the next decade because he basically does every single thing on the basketball floor really well. As for Quentin Grimes, going into year 2, could he be making a leap? At the end of last year, he was given the next big minutes as a three-point shooter. They need that on the roster, and if he continues to play well, doesn't make Evan Fournier somewhat expendable, that would be ideal for Leon Rose and company because Quentin Grimes on that rookie deal, Evan Fournier making a lot of dough. Warriors Young Guns, they're impressing. After a rough start to his Summer League stint, Jonathan Kuminga played terrific against the San Antonio Spurs on Sunday. Same could be said for James Wiseman, who made a Summer League debut, had a couple of blocks, walked into a 3, mid-range jumper, threw down a hammer for the opening points of the game off a lob from Jonathan Kuminga. Mac McClung playing really well, and Moses Moody lighting it up from downtown. As for what goes down tonight, my eyes will be peeled on the screen as we get a look at Paolo Banchero and Chet Holmgren. I'm somewhat surprised that they're playing this deep into the Summer League, but for us as NBA fans, as basketball fans, and as hoop heads, yeah, you got to appreciate that. My message to all of the Jabari Smith haters: relax. The biggest concern for him going into the draft, he lacked a handle, and he's looked scared and uncomfortable putting the basketball on the floor. It's, of course, a little bit of a concern, but that was the concern that I had watching him at Auburn and the concern going in to the NBA draft. Now, I called him the number 1 player in this draft class, and already Paolo's been better, Chet's been better, Keegan Murray's been better, Jaden Ivey, Benedict Mathurin, they played great basketball. But Jabari Smith, down the road, because he's still a teenager, can become an elite-level defender. Last year, he knocked down 40+% of his three-point shots. He has that high release point at 6'10". He can basically get a shot off from anywhere. So the only thing he has to develop is that handle, and that's something that he can continue to develop over time. So those are our Summer League takeaways, or at least my Summer League takeaways. If you have any, let us know in the comments section. But also, I have this question for you. Embrace debate. Who will have the better career between Paolo, the number 1 pick, and Chet Holmgren, the number 2 pick? P for Paolo, H for Holmgren. Let me know right now, and thanks for watching today's show. Okay, we'll give you some shout-outs here. Pop Johnson getting a question in for our future mailbag. Good looks on that. XRP, they have a good young nucleus. Yes, they do. What's happening?
Everyone saw Sam's little oopsie.
What was the oopsie?
Does anyone notice a mistake in the actual video? I could take a handful of...
What happened?
Every day.
You were Tim, right, with nothing on the left.
Oh, really? Oh. Was it like, oh, that was like 2 seconds, right? Yeah. That's funny. See, the beauty of doing the show live, you guys get to hear all the shenanigans happening behind the scenes. Silly Sammy. We'll give you some more shout-outs here. Joseph, B for Banchero, Saul Phillips, hopefully I pronounced that right, B as well. H from Dylan Burton, he likes Chet Holmgren. I'm going Paolo Banchero. I kind of disrespected Chet Holmgren. I had him number 7 on my big board, and I'm just terrified and petrified by the body and lack of size, but he certainly has looked good throughout the NBA Summer League. But a lot of people, mixed results here. H for Holmgren, not many. B for Paolo Bancheros. That's interesting stuff right there. Another reminder, in case you're just joining us with about 500 people watching live. By the way, 82 likes, 500 people watching live. That's disrespectful. Show up, show out, smash that thumbs up icon, or as producer Jeremy likes to say, tickle that thumbs up icon. Yeah, we've consulted with him. He's a little bit weird. But either way, hit that thumbs up icon. A reminder, we'll be going live on Rumble after our YouTube show wraps up. You see the link down below, rumble.com/NBA Now. We'll be talking about Kevin Durant potentially teaming back up with the Golden State Warriors because Steph Curry, according to some reports out there, not shutting down that trade discussion. So we'll unpack that on Rumble, but still so much left to get to on our YouTube show. Appreciate all of you for rocking and rolling with us. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. Coming up next, 2022 NBA free agency grades. And I'm pretty sure this might be the last time we do free agency grades because if you think about it, the peak of NBA free agency, it's in the rear view, right? And if you look at the top available free agents who we talked about last week, that list, not all that star-studded. Deandre Ayton, Colin, Sexton, probably the two most notable. But in the meantime, we'll be talking about these free agency grades. So that's coming up next. More shout-outs in the comment section. Seul, XRP, Devion Weems. Continue to get those questions in. I see some there because we do have 2 mailbags still left on our YouTube show. All of that and much more coming up. But first, NBA free agency grades. You're watching NBA Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. On the docket for today, NBA free agency grades. The peak of free agency, it's in the rear view. A couple of notable players left, but up to this point, fairly confident in what these grades are going to be for all 30 teams in the National Basketball Association. We're going to go alphabetical order here. We start off with the Atlanta Hawks, and really, they didn't make many monster moves in NBA free agency, but on the eve of free agency, they made that trade for Dejounte Murray, which I think makes the Hawks a really interesting basketball team. And in turn, it allows Atlanta to use Trae Young more off-ball in a Steph Curry way, which could unlock a different element to his game that we haven't seen before because he's been so ball-dominant with Atlanta out of necessity. Here are the trade details here. Dejounte Murray to Atlanta. Spurs received Danilo Gallinari. They waived him. He signed a 2-year deal with the Boston Celtics. 3 first-round picks included here, which does impact the Kevin Durant trade market to a certain degree, in addition to the Rudy Gobert trade between the T-Wolves and the Utah Jazz. Then that first-round pick swap in 2026. Dejounte Murray to Atlanta, a star-studded backcourt in Atlanta, and he's going to be able to be a primary ball handler. So too is Trae Young. They lost a couple of shooters, though, which is really weird, in Gallinari, and then they traded away Kevin Huerter. So while you get a really good player in Dejounte Murray, you lose some shooters around Trae Young as well as Murray, the latter of which not the best three-point shooter. To the Boston Celtics, I love what Brad Stevens has been able to do. It's one of the few A grades that I'm handing out in our free agency grades, and I love the trade of Malcolm Brogdon for the contract that they're paying him, the necessity and the need that they had on the roster, but also the player who Brogdon is when he's healthy. We're talking about an all-star caliber guard who is worth a pretty affordable price tag, and Marcus Smart throughout the playoffs and throughout the regular season had to handle the responsibilities of being the point guard, but that's not his natural position. Malcolm Brogdon is that guy. He can put the ball on the floor. He's a smart and heady player. He's good defensively, which adds to that Celtics defensive culture, but he can create shots for his teammates, and I think a byproduct of this trade, it's Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown getting a lot of open looks. Free agency moves for Boston. The value deal for Danilo Gallinari is fantastic. Another one of those snipers from deep. 2 years, 13 for him, 6.5 average annual value. That right there is an absolute steal. For the Brooklyn Nets, when we did our previous free agency grades, I think I gave him a D or an F, but that was because of Kevin Durant requesting a trade and Kyrie Irving most likely not being on this basketball team. But if those two players come back, I actually like what the Nets have done in free agency. A couple of really good depth and rotational pieces, but this is operating under the premise that KD and Kyrie actually come back. Patty Mills, he's a playoff level player. 2 years, 14.5 for a backup point guard. That's about the going rate. Nicholas Claxton, 2 years, 20. Kessler Edwards signed that 2-year deal. The TJ Warren contract, worth as little as it was, I thought was a great contract for Brooklyn because when he's right, and he hasn't because of foot injuries the last couple of years since the NBA bubble, he's a walking bucket. So we'll see what happens with KD and Kyrie. It's a C-ish grade right now. That can improve dramatically if KD and Kyrie go back. For the Charlotte Hornets, it's a C grade. What big moves have they made? Really nothing. Now, they addressed big in the NBA draft by going Mark Williams, and I think to pair him up alongside LaMelo, that's a good acquisition and a guy who LaMelo can build with. But you got shafted with Kenny Atkinson leaving, and really you have to keep in mind a lot of this conversation throughout this show is about what these teams have also done in the offseason. The notable move, Cody Martin, 4 years, 32. If we're talking free agency losers, it's Miles Bridges, who right before free agency got bopped for domestic violence, all-time buffoonery from him as he was set to make $25 to $30 million per year. Chicago Bulls, it's a B grade. If you remember last year, through a lot of the first portion of the regular season, they were the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. And I think they've done some solid things to address depth. Andre Drummond, 2 years, 6.5, one of the better backup centers in the league and one of the best rebounding bigs. Zach LaVine, they locked him up long-term. Derek Jones doesn't move the needle for me much, but gives you athleticism. And then for a backup point guard, Goran Dragic, he's been really in the guts of some big playoff games. Played in NBA Finals, international games as well. 1 year, less than $3 million for him. Now, I want to ask you this. Money moves. Who's made them? Which team has had the best free agency? Let me know. You can agree with me, disagree with me. Either way, chime in the comment section right now. Cleveland Cavaliers now. B grade for Cleveland. They really have a good young core developing. And we'll see what happens with Colin Sexton. According to the Cleveland Plain Dealer, Sexton wants to return. Cleveland wants him back. Cavaliers didn't need to do much. Now, the big splash, Darius Garland receiving that rookie max contract, 5 years, $193. It can become about $230 plus over time if he reaches some incentives. Ricky Rubio was playing a high level of basketball before he tore his ACL for the second time in his career. $6+ million for him as a backup point guard. Again, that's about the going rate. As for the Dallas Mavericks, I'm going to give them a B grade. That might be higher than what people have given them in their own grading segments, but I'm running the show and I'm giving them a B grade. Now, you lose out on Jalen Brunson. That is a monster loss. That cannot be understated, and they still have to fulfill that role for JB going to the New York Knicks. Is it going to be a sign-and trade? Do they get assets back? There's been some chatter on that front. So losing Brunson, it's a huge dent into the armor for Dallas, a team that Brunson was the second best player for en route to the Western Conference Finals. First time they won a playoff series since 2011. I like the signing of JaVale McGee. They needed rim protection and a rim runner. He certainly gives them that. Denver Nuggets, they've bulked up their depth, and they're going to get Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. back, and they're going to be an interesting team this upcoming year in the Western Conference. B- for them. The Joker signs a record deal, largest contract in the history of the NBA, which will be overtaken within the next year because the salary cap will continue to go up. 5 years, $270 million. And the celebration that we saw in Serbia, it was awesome. It rivaled our Chat Sports Kai Soto dance. DeAndre Jordan didn't make sense to me. I think he's washed. Bruce Brown, 2 years, 13. Very good glue guy for a playoff team that certainly needs them. They also made that trade with the Washington Wizards. That is notable as well. Detroit Pistons, B+. Now, this is a combination of really what they've done primarily in the NBA draft, but also some moves in free agency. You draft Jaden Ivey, who I think is going to be Ja Morant light, and then you get your big and Jalen Duren and a couple of other really good players on that team. I like the core that they're building. Marvin Bagley has a new lease on life. He inked a 3-year, $37 million contract with Detroit. It's a really good story for a guy who has been overshadowed by being in the same draft class as Trae Young, DeAndre Ayton, as well as Luka Doncic. But down the stretch after getting sent to Detroit, played pretty good basketball. Kevin Knox, we'll see if he can figure it out. Golden State Warriors, B grade for the reigning NBA champions. primarily because of the value deals that they have gotten done. Kevon Looney coming back, 3 years, $25.5 million, and Dante DiVincenzo, 2 years, 9.3. The third year for Looney is a player option. The second year for Dante DiVincenzo, also a player option. For Looney, a big who always finds himself in the right spot at the right time, has won 3 championships with this team. Not sure what the health is going to be for James Wiseman. Really important to have him on the roster. For DiVincenzo, former first-round pick who fulfills Gary Payton II leaving. He can be a very good wing defender, excellent athlete, and shoot the 3 ball. I think he is going to really break out in that Warriors system. Now, today's show presented to you by Rumble. That's where you can also find our NBA content here at Chat Sports. 3 channels to be exact. NBA Now, more than 3,000 subs. Warriors Today, more than 3,200. And then the Lakers Report, 2,500 subs. If you want more exclusive content on Rumble, just plug in that link down below, rumble.com/NBA Now. And when you go there, the same color as that graphic right below me, you hit that follow button. Free and uncensored content, sports, news, politics, tech, and business. We continue to grow to the platforms that you as the homies use, so give us a follow on Rumble today. We move forward in our free agency grades. Houston Rockets, B grade. Look, I like what they've done over the last couple of drafts. They are building around Jalen Green, and I think that Jabari Smith is going to be a good player down the road. Some flashes in the summer league of him being an Evan Mobley type with a better three-point shot in free agency. The big move for them, Jayshawn Tate, as they continue to bulk up and compile young assets on that team. And I think they're going to be one of these NBA League Pass teams that are going to be must-watch television when they either play your squad or you're just bored at night trying to watch them hoop. They have a really good young roster, and Josh Christopher, he's been hooping throughout NBA Summer League. To the Indiana Pacers, C grade. There's been some chatter that they might make a move for Deandre Ayton, and if that's the case, this grade will improve depending on what the contract details are. They traded away Malcolm Brogdon, though, basically for nothing. They did re-sign Jalen Smith, former lottery pick out of Maryland, got off to a slow start with the Phoenix Suns, 2-year deal. I like him. Sometimes I like him better than most. I think he's a better backup big than he is a starter. Obviously, again, if they bring in DeAndre Ayton, that certainly changes things. For the Los Angeles Clippers, B grade. And going into 2022-2023, they're going to be a championship favorite for me if Kawhi Leonard is able to stay healthy. And if that team is healthy, they're going to be a problem in the Western Conference. They have depth, they have star power, they have versatility. John Wall, I know that he's made a ton of money throughout his career, and he's a former number 1 pick, and $47 million to not play a game last year. All-time business move for him, but $6+ million for him over 2 years for a guy who I think can still play. That's good. Nicholas Batum, a stretch 4 who can also play the 5 and knock down the 3 ball. Pretty good value there, $11 million average annual value. Ty Lue, also one of the best coaches in the NBA. Lakers. It's a C grade. It's been so average, it's not even funny. And I don't really have a lot of thoughts on what the Lakers have been able to do because they've made a bunch of mundane average moves. Part of that, they're cap strapped. They don't have a lot of money, paying max deals to LeBron, Russ, and AD. Damian Jones, good backup center, coming off a career best year. I think there's a better player in there for Lonnie Walker. 6.5 mid-level exception deal. If he can fulfill the expectations of being a former first-round pick, that could be a good value signing. Troy Brown Jr., we'll see if he cracks the roster. Juan Toscano Anderson. And then they brought in Thomas Bryant, too. And this is a guy, when healthy, is a pretty solid player who can give you 13 and 8 and a little bit of a 3 ball. But injuries for him have been a little bit of a concern over the last couple of years. As of now, it's Bryant and Damian Jones competing for that 5 spot. But there's a big move potentially looming for Los Angeles, and again, that would change one of these grades. Will the Lakers trade for Kyrie Irving? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. To another one of the best young upstart teams in the NBA, Memphis Grizzlies, B grade. So they continue to also build their young core a season after they really establish a lot of momentum. Ja Morant, another one of the players getting one of those rookie max contract extensions, 5 years, $193. John Conchar, 3 years, $19 for that guard spot. Then Tyus Jones now becomes the highest paid backup point guard in the league, top 25 at his position, 2 years, $30. That's Ja Morant insurance. plays a little bit of a reckless style, missed a lot of games last year. When he did go down, Tyus Jones rose up to the occasion and played very well. Miami Heat, going to give them a B, and they could trade for Kevin Durant, which would probably make it an A because they would become favorites, or at least one of the favorites, to win the Eastern Conference Finals. So in free agency, Victor Oladipo, Dwayne Dedmon, Caleb Martin, those are the deals that they have made official up to this point. They haven't made any big deals because Kevin Durant is waiting in the wings potentially. According to reports, it's the Miami Heat, it's the Phoenix Suns as two of the top destinations for one of the best players that we've ever seen in KD. Milwaukee Bucks, another one of the few A grades. If they had Chris Middleton last year, did they beat the Boston Celtics in that second round, which went 7 games? And if it wasn't for Grant Williams going off in Game 7 at TD Garden, does Boston advance? Milwaukee's a really good basketball team with the best player on earth in Giannis, and they brought back and retained a lot of players who helped them win a championship 2 years ago, and players who add to their identity. And then the Joe Ingles acquisition is the external move that they made. He's coming off that torn ACL. He's about a 40% three-point shooter, especially when he's getting open looks. He could be an excellent and under-the-radar addition for Milwaukee. Then Serge Ibaka will be a backup big once again after he was traded for by Milwaukee at the NBA trade deadline, but barely played throughout the NBA playoffs. Minnesota Timberwolves, B-. I've changed my thoughts basically every single day. I have no idea what to make of the Rudy Gobert trade. I don't really like it because you're paying 2 bigs in an era of the NBA where the game is played primarily through, offensively, wings and guards, and you're paying 2 bigs more than $70 million. And at the end of the game, in the playoffs, down the stretch, are you paying and playing both Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns to potentially not play together? That's a little bit of a problem for me, and he gave up a lot of pick compensation. We'll see, though. It's a fascinating experiment. New Orleans Pelicans, B grade. Another one of these teams in the West, man, I cannot wait to watch. And the depth of talent at the NBA level is as good as it's been in a really long time. Now, free agency grades didn't really do much. Zion Williamson, he's so big he gets to appear twice on this graphic. 5-year, $193. Deal can be up to $231 million. In all seriousness, though, Zion looks good. I'm rooting for him to stay healthy because 2 years ago, when he was healthy, shot about 60% from the floor, 20-plus points per game, 10 rebounds, couple blocked shots per night, and some highlight reel-worthy dunks. Zion on that Pelicans roster with all the pieces they've been able to really add up, they can be a really good team in the West coming off a year in which they pushed the Phoenix Suns to 6 games in round 1 without Zion. New York Knicks, they finally got who they appear or who they think is a star in Jalen Brunson. And honestly, we don't know the contract details right now because we're not sure if it's going to be a sign-in trade, if it's going to be a free agent acquisition. Let's say it's $104 million, which pays Brunson about, $26, $30 million per year, puts him top 25 among all point guards. If you stack him up on this deal, let's say it is that, 4 years, 104, it's actually a pretty good deal, in my opinion, for a guy who over time can give you 20 points per game and 8 boards. Isaiah Hartenstein, he's really improved over the last couple of years, and then he's going to pair up in that front court with Mitchell Robinson, 2 different players at that center and forward spot. If you love the NBA, Chat Sports is the place for you. Not only do we want you to subscribe by hitting that red sub button down below, turn on those notifications. Therefore, anytime we go live, and we've been live pretty much every single day of free agency, or anytime we push out a video, you will be notified. Oklahoma City Thunder, B. They get Chet Holmgren in the draft. I think that he is going to be a very good fit for what they want to do. And then in free agency, they add to the young core. Lou Dort, he got that big contract. He continues to ascend. Mike Muscala, he's a big who can stretch the floor. Orlando Magic, they get Paolo Banchero, who up to this point throughout the Summer League has looked like the best player in this draft class. And then free agency, Mo Bamba, Gary Harris, Bol. Gary Harris, yes, $13 million is a lot, but previously he was getting 20, and he's a veteran who can score off the bench, and then Mo Bamba had a career best year. I think he's going to continue to improve. Philadelphia 76ers, PJ Tucker, more than $10 million over 3 years. That third year is a player option, which is important. James Harden took a $15 million pay cut to return to Philly. That's really big, and that second year is also a player option. Daniel House is a good defending wing who's a good athlete who can throw down some hammers and play some defense. I think the Sixers have more depth more toughness, and are a better team than they ended last year being. Phoenix Suns, C+. They've barely done nothing. They've been so silent. And they don't need to make a lot of improvements. The Deandre Ayton domino has to fall, but they extend Devin Booker on that Supermax deal. Damian Lee, Bismack Biyombo, Josh Okogie. Those are players who are going to be battling for roster spots for a team that, let's be fair, is going to contend to win the West next year. Portland Trailblazers, B+. I floated between an A grade and a B+ grade. When you have Damian Lillard on your team, the offense is going to run through him. But defensively, he's a sieve. That's why you have to focus in and hone in on very good defensive wings to make up for what Dame lacks on the defensive end. One of the best offensive players of all time, not a great defensive player. So what they did in free agency, Gary Payton II led the NBA in steals per 36 minutes, $9+ million for him. I think he's only going to continue to round into form. Nurkic, that's a lot of money for him. He's been injured a lot. They traded for Jeremy Grant, who bulks up that defense as well. Really like what Portland has been able to do this offseason. Sacramento Kings, B. At the time, I was like, you didn't take Jaden Ivey, and you went with Keegan Murray. I love Keegan Murray, the player. But in the NBA Summer League, he's been the best guy. I would have went with Ivy. Maybe I'll be wrong. Love what the Kings have been able to do. They prioritize shooting as well. Malik Monk acquisition, Kevin Huerter via trade. San Antonio Spurs. Are they tanking for Victor Wembanyama out of France? The big who outplayed Chet Holmgren in the 2021 World Championships. Maybe. They traded away DeJounte Murray, and it looks as though they're resetting. You trade away their best player, they're going to be a bad basketball team this year. And how much does Greg Popovich have left? Toronto Raptors, C grade. I love the Raptors as an organization. I trust Nick Nurse. He's one of my favorite coaches in the league. Masai Ujiri might be the best GM walking the earth today. But Chris Boucher, fully guaranteed for $35 million, that's a lot. Thad Young, $16 million, $8 per year, that's a lot as well. Otto Porter Jr., I do like that acquisition. Utah Jazz, C. They traded away Rudy Gobert, Quinn Snyder left, and other than that, they haven't done much in free agency. We'll see what happens on the Donovan Mitchell trade front. Washington Wizards, B-. Around Bradley Beal, they've added some guard play and guys who can score. Hopefully Corey Kispert can continue to improve as an outside shooter. Johnny Davis, some red flags there. Worry about the athleticism throughout Summer League, but here's what they've done in addition to those trades, or that trade that they made with the Denver Nuggets. Beal, 5-year, $251 million max. He has a no-trade clause. One of the only players in the history of the NBA to have that. Anthony Gill, DeLon Wright, Taj Gibson just signed on Sunday officially after he was let go by the New York Knicks. Now, I want you to get into the comments section here. I want you to shout out your favorite squad, but also grade their moves. A, B, C, D, or F. Think about it. Think about what your squad has done. Put those grades together. Took me a lot of time to put this show together. I want you to do the same and put some thought into your comments. Okay, we'll give you some shout-outs. Let's see. A lot of people talking about Ben Simmons. He was seen at the NBA Summer League. Simmons is a liability from D Saturday. Put Van Vliet on top of it. Talking Fred Van Vliet here as well, I see. Brandon Roan, A+. What's your team, though, Brandon? Let us know. Saul Phillips, giving his squad an A. Celtics A from Colin. Charlotte D from Roger. Yeah, could have been. I gave him a C. Minnesota B, but we still winning the ring from King Littleman. If the Timberwolves win a ring, I will Venmo you $5. Just hit me up at Chase_Senior and remind me about a year from now at Chase_Senior. Another reminder, we'll be going live on Rumble exclusively after our YouTube show wraps up. Nearly 800 people watching live right now. I hope that all of you kick it with us over on Rumble as we'll be talking about the Golden State Warriors and the chances that Kevin Durant comes back and Andrew Wiggins leaves. Really good show on tap on the Warriors front. So rumble.com/NBA now. We'll go live exclusively there for our After Hours segment. We go on mailbag next. Going to do a mailbag coming up next on NBA Now. If you have a question for me to answer, a few ways for you to get involved. Use the hashtag NBA. Better yet, you can skip the line with a super chat. We appreciate all of your donations in advance. Continue to get those questions in using the hashtag NBA. Just going to take a sip of water real quick, then we'll start that mailbag. Is this that different open, Sam? You said yeah? Cool. Let me just take a look here. Okay, cool. Just a full screen regular intro and then a little weigh-in piece. Awesome. All right, NBA mailbag coming up. Hashtag NBA. Get those super chats in. I did see a $10 super chat. We'll get to that coming up as well. Welcome into NBA Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Sr. Coming up on today's show, I'm going to take all of your questions as part of our mailbag segment. There's a couple of ways for you to get involved. You can subscribe and join our live mailbags every single week. We've basically been live for every single day of NBA free agency, and throughout the summer, we're going to continue to go live right here on NBA Now. So subscribe down below, youtube.com/chatsportstv, so that you can get your questions by me, and you can be a part of the show. Always love these segments because we get to chop it up together and talk some hoop. We start off this mailbag with this question coming in from the Gold Eagle 99. It's a $10 super chat. I predict Chet Holmgren will average 17 points per game with 1.5 blocks and be top 5 in Rookie of the Year award voting. What say you, Chase? I think 17 points per game is a little bit lofty. At Gonzaga, he was about 14 points per game. I do think that he could average more than 1.5 blocks. Now, I get scared about Chet going on the low block against a big physical player like Joel Embiid. We saw what Kenneth Lofton was able to do, put his shoulder into him, and Chet Holmgren really struggled physically going up against a big, beefy player like that. But what he lacks in size and weight and strength, he makes up for it with a ridiculously long wingspan. So he's able to make up for it by, even if he gets back down and loses some position down low, he has those really long arms. So around 4 blocks per game with the Zags last year in his freshman campaign, I think it could be realistically around 2. He has such a great knack for protecting the rim. Chualora with this question, do you think the Warriors can win the championship again, and can the Warriors sign Mac McClung to a 2-way contract? I'll tell you this, he has been a diamond in the rough for Golden State. He was behind a couple of players with the Los Angeles Lakers in their summer league play in the California Classic. He goes to the Warriors because an opportunity presented itself for McClung to get more minutes. And this past Sunday night, in a win against the San Antonio Spurs, he was doing it all. Getting to the rack, displaying some burst in athleticism, had a couple of really fine and creative finishes around the rim, up and under, finishing among the trees, had a really good behind-the-back pass, little pull-up jumper as well. Athletically, he could play at the NBA level. Has to get a little bit better defensively. My comp for him, can he become Alex Caruso? Not defensively, but he's a better offensive player. I think that Mac McClung can make this team, and I think it'd be wise to maybe bring him in at least throughout training camp and preseason to give him a chance to make the roster. By the way, make sure you subscribe to our Warriors channel. It's youtube.com/WarriorsTV. We go to this question from Davey Dingo. What guard could the Mavericks trade for to help replace Jalen Brunson? The popular conversation continues to hover around Colin Sexton, who I think is an underrated player up to this point. According to the Cleveland Plain Dealer, there hasn't been much of a market for Colin Sexton, which surprises me because his second and third years, he was between 20 and 24 points per game. If I'm Dallas, I'm making a call to Cleveland and I'm asking them, what do you want? We can give you Dwight Powell. We can trade away Tim Hardaway Jr. You want Davis Bertans to play alongside Darius Garland as a really good sniper three-point shooter? That's fine. Outside of that, what guards can the Mavericks bring in? That could be a sign-and-trade free agency, maybe a player like a Dennis Schroeder or somebody else, but slim pickings right now at this point in NBA free agency. Let me ask you this question. Who will be the next player traded? Will it be Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving? Let me know. Give me a name or names in the comment section right now. Pop Johnson next up in our mailbag. Who is your top 5 underrated rookies going into the season? Is Keegan Murray underrated because he got selected number 5? Is Benedict Mathurin a little bit underrated? He's been tearing it up in the Summer League alongside Keegan Murray. Those are 2 right there. I think E.J. Liddell can get minutes for the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm thinking of some other player. Jalen Williams, I think, is a really good selection as a 3-and-D guy who could get minutes right away because those types of players, they're needed on an NBA roster. I think that people are sleeping on Jabari Smith. They're ripping him, saying he's going to be a bust. I think he's going to be just fine. So those are some of the players that I'm looking at. How about Colin Gillespie as an undrafted free agent out of Villanova, a guy who also has been playing well for the Nuggets in the Summer League? Joseph, do you see the Pelicans making any changes to the roster before the start of the year? I don't think they need to. They are in a really good position. They have their coach in Willie Green, who I thought was really good last year. There's a risk with signing Zion to that contract, but there are some outs and clauses in that where if he gets hurt, you can free yourself financially. Brandon Ingram, one of the best young scorers in the league. CJ McCollum, a good, complementary piece to Ingram. And since CJ McCollum isn't the best defensive player, you have to have good defenders. You got it, Jose Alvarado, as well as Herb Jones. Like, the makings of the roster is really, really good. And then Dyson Daniels, a really good draft addition, a guy who also might be underrated, and he could contribute in year 1 as a really good defender. Evan Hinders, is it true Lonzo Ball's injury is worse than expected, and that's why Chicago signed Goran Dragic? It is believed to be a little bit worse than expected. This was a couple of weeks ago when there were some reports about the Bulls being very concerned about Lonzo's knee injury moving forward, and it's crazy because nothing in the moment was like that severe. It's not like he shredded his knee during a game and you watch it and you're like, oh my goodness, there was that report of him being injured, and then from that point, we never saw him again this year. You don't sign Dragic thinking that Lonzo isn't going to play. You're signing Dragic to be Lonzo's backup, and hopefully Lonzo is able to figure that knee out, maybe get a PRP injection overseas like some really good players have been able to do over time, because he's a fun basketball player to watch, and the NBA is a better game when he's playing for Chicago because that roster, it's really good around him. LFG123, LFG. If Patrick Beverley gets bought out, would the Philadelphia 76ers be a good fit? I think so. And it would make the Sixers a very interesting team in the Eastern Conference just because of some of the dogs that they have on the squad. Joel Embiid, he's never scared. We know PJ Tucker doesn't have any fear. The same can be said for De'Anthony Melton. There's like those x-ray pictures of taking a look at De'Anthony Melton's x-ray. You see that pit bull head in the chest? That's what Patrick Beverley has as well. I think that he would give the Sixers veteran leadership, really good defense, occasional ball handling responsibilities outside of James Harden, as well as Tyrese Maxey. He can hit the 3 from time to time. If he's hovering around 37, 38%, that's a win considering what he adds on the defensive end of the floor. And it seems as though everywhere he goes, that team makes the playoffs. So he adds to the winning culture, and him playing in Philadelphia, the fans would lose their shit at the thought of Patrick Beverley putting on a Sixers uniform, then hopping up on the scores table to get the crowd juiced up. You can watch our NBA content on YouTube. You can also catch it on Rumble as well. Make sure you give us a follow at rumble.com/NBA now. We're talking free and uncensored content, sports, news, politics, tech, and business outside of what we do here at Chat Sports. You can find that from other places as well. We continue to grow the platforms that you use, so make sure you give us a follow. It's rumble.com/NBA now. $2 super chat coming in from Black Mariner. Thoughts on Scottie Pippen Jr.? He's actually played pretty well throughout the Summer League. He has created on a pretty consistent basis. He has become and been a better scorer than I thought, and I mean that from an efficiency standpoint. At Vanderbilt, wasn't really a good three-point shooter, wasn't really an efficient offensive player, but he's had efficiency to his game. Has a nice little shiftiness and a little wiggle too. I don't know if he's going to make the roster, but so far he's played good, and that's props to him. James, is there a way that Kevin Durant gets traded to the Lakers to form a new super team alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Side note, do you think Trey Lance will be the starting quarterback for the 49ers? I cover the Niners here at Chat Sports. Yes, I think Trey Lance is going to be the starting quarterback. All this arm fatigue talk, I'm not buying into it. If you change your motion, you're going to deal with soreness. That's what happened with Trey, but a lot of you are just watching this for the NBA aspect. So, KD getting traded to the Lakers. It sounds like a great idea. KD playing with LeBron and AD, that's awesome. But if that's the case, what are you giving up to bring in KD? You do not have the assets to trade for Kevin Durant. The Brooklyn Nets are not going to take a 2027 first-round pick, another future first, and Russell Westbrook and Talen Horton-Tucker. That's just not going to move the needle. There are going to be better trade packages out there. So for the Lakers, you just have to keep dreaming. Let's get to this from Arthur. Who is too loyal, Bradley Beal or Dame? They're both loyal. Dame is going to get paid a lot of money. And for a smaller-ish guard, that concerns me. And for Bradley Beal, no trade clause, one of 10 players to have that in the history of the NBA. Both are loyal. Dame wants to stay in the Pacific Northwest. Bradley Beal in the nation's capital. We know in the player empowerment era, those things can change overnight, and they can demand a trade tomorrow. So we'll see what happens, but they have been very loyal to the teams that drafted them. What is your favorite part of the NBA offseason? This is always a good question. F for free agency, T for trades. Let me know right now in the comment section. I'm going F for free agency. T for trades, yeah, it's fun, but free agency is really fun to speculate on and more realistic. Luke Byrne, Jaden Hardy is the steal of the draft. The Mavericks think so. The Mavericks really like Jaden Hardy, and I like the pick of him. Considering where they got him at, I believe, the 40 range. Jaden Hardy in his first game in the NBA Summer League was great. We were watching it live, and right away, I could just tell. This guy has NBA scoring ability, and he can score from all three levels. Now, there are going to be some nights where he drives you crazy, takes some ill-advised shots, and turns the basketball over and hits a cold spell. But there are other nights where he can really turn it on and has a lot of offensive moves in his toolbox. And because of that, I think he's going to be able to stay in the league for a long time. And because of his offensive pedigree and offensive upside, as a guy who was a top 5 high school recruit before going to the G League, I think he could get minutes in year one. Super Smarty Pants. Looking ahead to the next offseason, should the Lakers try to sign Chris Middleton in NBA free agency? Middleton would be interesting on the Lakers. Now, you think about this. Russell Westbrook's contract off the books. LeBron James, he could leave if he really wanted to. He's going into the final year of his deal. He'll be an unrestricted free agent, barring a re-sign there on that front. So let's say the Lakers bring back LeBron James. They let go of Russell Westbrook. It opens up a max slot on that team. They could go after a player like Chris Middleton on the wing, who I think would be a nice addition on both ends of the floor for Los Angeles. It's certainly interesting. Daniel, do you think the Cavaliers will re-sign Colin Sexton? At this point, it looks that way. Sexton is a good player. He's coming off a knee injury, which he's expected to make a full recovery from. And when he's right, when he's healthy, he's a very good scoring combo guard. So him and Darius Garland, there's been mixed reviews as to whether or not that will work. But I do think Colin Sexton going back to Cleveland would interest me. And if it doesn't work out, use him as a trade chip going into the NBA trade deadline. So Cleveland, certainly an interesting squad. Cursina, Lakers are a 30-win team next year. Oof, my goodness, that is bleak. If LeBron and AD are healthy, they're just too good to not win 30 games or to be at that 30-win mark. Like, that's bad. That's bad. We're talking 30 and 52. That is just atrocious after a year in which they were not good. I think with a healthy LeBron and AD as currently constructed, they're about a 45-win team, which, that'll get you in the playoffs. Who will win the NBA title next year? Do you think it'll be the Lakers? I don't. Do you think it's going to be another team? If so, let me know who you got in the comment section right now. Okay, we'll give you some more shout-outs. One more mailbag to come. We're also going to talk about the Lakers in our Rumble After Hours segment. We'll talk about the Golden State Warriors. In the meantime, giving you some shouts. PJ Garcia, A-Train, Tommy Jones, Cursina, Rumple Foreskin, nice. Also in the chat, Luke Byrne is back. King Littleman, Speed Demon, Bron should have went to Philadelphia for another ring. Yeah, he would have made the Sixers really good. Let's see. Who will win the NBA title next year? I'm seeing Nets, Suns, Dallas, Clippers, Nets, Lakers, Nets, Timberwolves in 5. Golden State Warriors from Desmond. Suns from D-Boy. Good stuff right there. Appreciate all of you for chiming in. As I continue to say, we will be live exclusively on Rumble after our YouTube show wraps up, where we'll be talking about Kevin Durant and the possibility of him going to the Golden State Warriors. You don't want to miss what we're chopping up. Rumble.com/NBA now. Just open up a separate tab right now, plug in that link, play the video. Then when we do go live on Rumble, you'll be able to join us seamlessly and join the party. So rumble.com/NBA now. A lot of you are tuning in for the first time. A lot of you have been with us right from the start. Coming up next, we'll talk about the Los Angeles Lakers. Take a sip of water and lather the pipes. Okay, we good to go on Lakers? Let's get it. Let's talk about the Lakers right now on NBA Now. This is the Lakers Report by Chat Sports. Chase Senior here with you. I hope all of your weeks are off to a fantastic start. We'll get to all of the latest Lakers news and rumors coming up around the corner. But first, got to give a shout out to Aura for making today's Lakers Report possible. The all-in-one digital safety tool that can keep you and your family safe in an era where everything lives online and all of our information gets hacked a lot. Aura.com/chatsports. Start your free trial today. I'll put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. So up to this point in the Lakers offseason, they've addressed center with Damian Jones as well as Thomas Bryant. Is there a move to be made, and is there a move that could really be a big splash move for the purple and gold in Myles Turner? Heavy.com's Sean Devini reporting that Turner would be open to a deal to the Los Angeles Lakers. It looks as though he might be on the trade block. Could it be to Los Angeles? Could it be a part of a sign-and trade with the Phoenix Suns that would send Deandre Ayton to Indiana? We'll certainly see. Turner led the league in blocks last year. He also led the NBA in blocks the year previously. And the Lakers have been increasingly linked to the Pacers center over the last couple of years because he's a really intriguing player. One of the best shot blockers in the league, a guy who can certainly hold his own on the low block, but also if you want to go 5 wide with Myles Turner, you can do that. A couple of games last year in which he caught fire from distance. For me, Damian Jones and Thomas Bryant, they're solid options at that center spot for the Lakers. And if you start one of the two with LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and we'll see what happens with Russell Westbrook, and is Lonnie Walker IV going to be that other starter? We'll see. But when you focus in on that center spot for the Lakers, Damian Jones and Thomas Bryant, they're solid. They are not Myles Turner, and it's really not even close. He offers you so much more and gives you another threat offensively with his ability to stretch the floor and thin out defenses and open up some driving lanes, but defensively, a very, very good shot blocker. You can make the argument he's the best in that category in the NBA. So what do you think, Laker Nation? I want to hear from you in the comment section right now. We've talked a lot about Myles Turner over the last couple of years. Should the Lakers trade for him? Let me know right now. Give me a T for trade or a P for pass. Now, as far as Turner goes, he's somewhat expensive, but actually pretty affordable when you stack his contract up with some of the top centers in the NBA. You'd have to clear some money, but I'm certainly intrigued by the idea. Current big men on this roster in the front court for the Lakers: Anthony Davis, he's a unicorn. Thomas Bryant went healthy, and that's really the big concern with him. He's a good backup center, ideally, who can start some games for you. Damian Jones coming off the best year of his career, and then Wenyen Gabriel, the former Kentucky Wildcat, was able to show a little bit of flashes last year in a limited sample size for LA. As for the notable trade assets for the Lakers that they could send in a package to Indiana for Myles Turner: Russell Westbrook, really, really expensive. Talen Horton-Tucker, is there a better player in there potentially? But $10 million for a guy who can do a bunch of things. If he ends up fulfilling those expectations and tapping into his fullest ability, that's actually a pretty good value deal with 2 years remaining on that deal. Kendrick Nunn, good scorer, but didn't play at all last year because of injury. Then you have a couple of first-round picks that you can include in a deal, 2025 and 2027, and then second-round picks, 2023, 2027, so you can throw those into the deal as well. As for Myles Turner, really good size, 6'11", 250. This past year, 13 points per game, 7 rebounds. We talk about the blocks. He led the NBA in blocks last year as well as the year previously, and just has a smart, innate ability of helping out on switches, getting to the rim after getting beat, can use that size and athleticism, but offensively, that's where I'm excited the most because he can knock down some threes and just give you an athletic component at that center spot that this team has been lacking over the last couple of years. So we'll continue to keep you updated on the Myles Turner front, but certainly a tasty rumor at that. As I said at the top, today's show presented to you by Aura. You can start your free 14-day trial if you head to aura.com/chatsports. It is the best all-in-one digital safety tool for you and your entire family if you are a family man or women. A cool feature, you can get near real-time alerts on suspicious credit inquiries, and you can keep your identity secure with extensive monitoring of your personal info. You pull up your web browser right now, think about how many passwords you have saved and all the information that is included in that. You're really opening yourself up to getting your identity stolen or your bank account hacked. But with Aura, you can shop, bank, work online more safely and privately. One more time, it's aura.com/chatsports. Keep your family safe from online activities and hackers. I'll put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. I appreciate Aura for making today's program possible. We can't do a Lakers report anymore without getting you caught up, with the latest on Kyrie Irving. Irving in Los Angeles feels inevitable, but the deal is far from done. He was at the Los Angeles Sparks game the other night. He's been playing pickup hoops in the Los Angeles area, in which people have been amazed at what he's been able to do. And the move still to be made in this offseason, I think there's indications that it could be Kyrie going from Brooklyn to LA because it's one of the teams in the NBA that's actually showing a level of interest in Kyrie. Recent notes and reporting on Irving. According to Brian Windhorst, Kyrie's market is frozen. I think there's a couple of reasons for that. KD trade market, Deandre Ayton trade market, also some moves to be made in free agency for the other 29 teams in the NBA. According to Chris Mannix, the mom and pop mindset hasn't helped the Lakers. Primarily what he means by that, them operating as a old school family and just relying on the voices and opinions of others. And frankly, I don't think that's a smart way to run a business. And then again, go back to that KD aspect of this. Could a Kevin Durant trade come before Kyrie? And again, I think that's the domino that has to fall in addition to DeAndre Ayton. Teams are waiting to maybe make an offer for Ayton because they want to make an offer for Kevin Durant. And then for the Nets, they got to figure out what's going on with KD because if they trade him, they're not going to start the franchise and reboot it with Kyrie Irving on a one-year deal after opting into that player option. So those are some dominoes yet to fall on the Kyrie Irving front. Are the Lakers a playoff team with Kyrie Irving? This is a really good question that I definitely want your answers for. Why for yes and for no? I think they are. You let me know in the comment section. Help get the Lakers report also to 48,000 subscribers. We were trying to get there by the end of last week, and we certainly got close as the Lakers report continues to churn out basically free daily content. Subscribe today for the best Lakers coverage on the entire internet by heading to youtube.com/LakersTV or just hit that red subscribe button down below. News, rumors, breaking news, all of that, much more. We hope you join the Laker Nation family. Next up on the show, is Anthony Davis going to bounce back? Rob Pelinka, full of praise for AD after back-to-back injury-plagued seasons. And Rob Pelinka, he's seen what AD can be. Won a championship with him back in 2020 when he was and looked like one of the most dominant players in the world. But he's also seen the unfortunate aspect of Anthony Davis. Injury-prone, especially the last 2 years. Rob Pelinka on AD from Summer League. He's bought in, and I think he's quietly put together one of the biggest off seasons of his career. This is just classic. You can just tell he's got a very serious tone about him. Last year didn't unfold the way that any of us wanted, and I think everyone's going to come back with a chip on our shoulder, and AD is going to lead us with that. I think he's working hard. I know he's working really hard on his body, and this is a huge year for Anthony Davis. He has to continue to work hard on his body. He can't be injured like he was the last 2 years, because when that happens, the Lakers go on a tailspin, because at this point you can't ask LeBron James to shoulder everything on both ends of the floor. And this is classic from Rob Pelinka, best shape of his career. He's as motivated as he's ever been. Like, this is the classic cliche offseason quote from a general manager, a coach, or a player. But for the Lakers, like, their playoff chances hinge on Anthony Davis staying healthy. He is a massive component in their success for this upcoming season. And when he's on the floor, this guy, he is seriously one of one. Confidence level in AD next year. Where is it? Where does it lie? Where does it stand? I want you to scale it for me from 1 to 10. As far as injuries go, low on the scale. Ability when healthy, high on the scale. Either way, I want you to let me know in the comment section right now. Confidence level in AD for next year. Going to get you caught up also on the latest going down with the Lakers in the NBA Summer League. Some really good performances that we certainly want to pass along. Cole Swider, UDFA out of Syracuse, 21 points on Sunday against the Charlotte Hornets in a really fun game that went to overtimes. Mason Jones had 13 points. Scottie Pippen Jr., he was solid, 10.7 dimes, 3 steals as he was getting it done on the defensive end of the floor. But he's had a couple of marvelous performances as a nice little shifty point guard with some wiggle. As for Cole Swider, he is intriguing for a couple of reasons. He's 6'9", and he can shoot the 3 and has a lot of range. And because of that, maybe he cracks the roster with the Lakers. Maybe he goes to the G League. Maybe he signs a 2-way deal. If it's not with the Lakers, he'll sniff an opportunity with another team across the NBA because 6'9" guys who could shoot, they are coveted assets. As for Scottie Pippen Jr., point guards are plentiful in the NBA. So I'm not sure what his roster status is going to be moving forward, but has had a couple of really good moments. Had a 20-plus point game the other night. I was watching and I'm like, you know what? I don't know if he deserved to get drafted, but with his pops on hand, he's showing his pops and making his pops proud against Charlotte in 2 OTs, 10 points on those 7 dimes as we talked about, and was pretty good playing the passing lanes. Next up for the Lakers in the NBA Summer League, it's going to be a matchup. LA versus LA, LAL against LAC. Sounds like a soccer match right there. Tuesday, July 12th from Las Vegas, 11 p.m. Eastern. And another opportunity for us to evaluate some of these Summer League prospects, and we'll continue to break it all down right here on the Lakers Report. Appreciate all of you for watching. Shout out your favorite player. Let's ride. NBA country. Let's ride. Speed Demon calling the Lakers a sorry-ass team. Ultimate Gandhi. We actually work on the floor with Gandhi here at Chat Sports. Funny, but y'all omit Kawhi and PG out more than AD. Yeah, we've talked plenty about Kawhi and Paul George being out a lot. Ovase, no team wants Westbrook. We'll just take the picks he'll come with. San Antonio Spurs could serve as kind of like a junkyard for Russell Westbrook's salary. They could take it on because they have some of the most cap space in the NBA and then either hold on to him and tank or let him go with a buyout. Let's see. Shout out your favorite player. I'm seeing Cade Cunningham, Jaylen Brown, Karl Anthony Towns, Bol, Steph Curry, Luka Doncic. Draymond is goated is in the chat. Yes, he is. Shabazz Muhammad from Jaden. What a name. Luka from Albatross. SM going Luka as well. Kevin Durant is going to be a free agent for his whole career. No, he's under contract. He signed an extension last year. Ovase, Scotty Barnes. Franz Wagner from D Saturday. Wow, no crapping on Sharif. I'm surprised. Look, he's not an NBA player up to this point, but I said, he's got a little bit of talent. Thought he should have stayed in college. The heart issue was heartbreaking for him. No doubt it probably impacted his athleticism to a certain degree, or at least his training at the time. Hope he does well. Cat is the GOAT. Cade Cunningham, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, LaMelo Ball. One more segment on our live show. It's going to be another News and Rumors mailbag. Then after that, we'll be going live exclusively on Rumble. 540-plus people watching us live as we've had a nice little consistent audience throughout the day. I hope all of you will join us on Rumble as well as we'll talk about Kevin Durant rumors to the Golden State Warriors. The link is down below, rumble.com/NBA now. One more mailbag to get to. Hashtag NBA Super Chat. Couple of ways for you to get involved. Make sure you get those questions in, and we'll take your questions here on the show. Mailbags, Aura? Cool. Hashtag NBA Super Chat. get your super chats in, and you will skip the line and we'll answer your questions first. But in the meantime, let's answer the questions that we do have. What's good? Welcome in. You're watching NBA Now by Chat Sports. Chase Senior here with you. Coming your way on today's show, a news and rumors mailbag where I take all of your questions from our loyal subscribers. The peak of NBA free agency, it's somewhat in the rear view, but a lot of intriguing storylines to get to. That's why we're answering your questions. First, though, today's show presented to you by Aura, the best online digital safety tool. You want to keep yourself safe from all of the online hackers. You can do so with Aura, a free 14-day trial. If you head to aura.com/chatsports, that link lives in the comment section and the description of this video. Eli moves. What teams do you think will be fighting for the 7th and 8th seed in the West this year? Wow, that's very precise. Let's just look at the teams in the West that can compete for the playoffs. So, Golden State Warriors, Phoenix Suns, Memphis Grizzlies, Denver Nuggets, New Orleans Pelicans. I mean, the list is so deep. Portland Trailblazers have to be in that equation. The list really does go on and on and on. You know, you're looking at some of these teams to rebound and have much better years. Could there be a sleeper team, one of the young teams in the West, that could end up making the playoffs? But 7th, 8th range, you know, again, the Clippers have to be in the conversation of the playoff picture, but 7th and 8th range, Dallas Mavericks too, my goodness. You know, the teams continue to come to mind. But that goes to show you the depth of the West. So, honestly, between the 7th, 8th seeds and you know, the 3 through 5 seeds, there's not going to be much of a gap. So any of the teams that I just talked about, they could be in the 7th and 8th spots. Evan Henders, Bulls have a top 5 starting lineup in the East. It's really good. We'll see what happens with Lonzo Ball. But Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Patrick Williams, Vucevic. That's your starting 5 right there, at least the all-2 starting 5 as we sit here in the middle of July. And I think that's why they've addressed depth throughout free agency. Goran Dragic, Andre Drummond, a couple of other good young pieces on the roster, Ayo Dosunmu. So, yeah, top 5 starting lineup in the East? I think so. They were the number 1 seed in the East for a large portion of last year. We continue to move forward in this mailbag. Let's go to this question from Rambling Ron. If Al Horford gets old, could the Celtics target Kevin Love in 2023 in NBA free agency? And the Celtics over the last decade have shown some interest in Kevin Love. This was more sparked when Danny Ainge was running basketball operations and Kevin Love was more so in his prime with the Cleveland Cavaliers after LeBron James was with that team. And Kevin Love, even up to this point, he's a pretty solid player, stretch 4 who can still give you some buckets, shoot the 3, always been a really good rebounder, not a great defender, especially if he gets put into a turnstile defensively. But if Al Horford just ages overnight, Kevin Love could be a decent player to help fill that loss. But Al Horford, he played really good hoop throughout the NBA playoffs and was instrumental for the Celtics' success. So I don't envision him just crumbling overnight. A little bit expensive for sure, but that deal is going to be expiring at some point, and Kevin Love could be interesting. If you want to subscribe to our Celtics channel, it's youtube.com/CelticsTV. With that, I ask you this question. Name a free agent you still want your team to sign. So list your team and then give us a name in the comment section right now. Some pretty solid free agents available. Which one do you want your squad to ink to a deal? Let us know right now. Ravers Kicks, what is your future outlook for the Detroit Pistons? And what do we need to do moving forward to ramp up our rebuild? You just need to be patient with the rebuild. They have all the pieces of being a really good team. Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, that's your backcourt. Sadiq Bey, really good 3-and-D guy. We'll see what Jalen Duren can become. Stevenson is a good player as well. Couple of good depth pieces as well. Do you bring in a Dennis Schroeder in NBA free agency? The future outlook for Detroit, it's great. What do you need to do moving forward? Develop these young players. And I like the prospects of Detroit becoming a very solid team over the next, let's say, 2 to 5 years. King Littleman, 33. Do you think D'Lo should be traded this year? He's going into the final year of his deal. So if he doesn't get traded, maybe the Timberwolves just let him walk. I think he's James Harden light, and I don't mean that in the greatest way. ISO scorer who isn't really all that efficient, way too inconsistent for me. Not sure on the offensive end it's a winning brand of basketball, and does he fit playing alongside Anthony Edwards and two bigs and Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert? I'd rather move on from him, whether it be via trade or after this year, and use that money allocated elsewhere to a better player. Luke Byrne, which Utah player could land in Dallas? We're talking Utah players. Donovan Mitchell would obviously be ideal. Donovan Mitchell trade to the Jazz to team up with Luka Doncic. That'd be fireworks right there. Other than that, they really don't have many depth pieces that Dallas would be all that interested in. Who'd you say, Sam? Mike Conley, Malik Beasley, like a couple of names in there, but Mike Conley, a little bit too expensive. Luke Byrne, I certainly appreciate that question. Today's show presented to you by the homies at Aura. We do more online than ever. What does Aura do? Everything and more to keep you and your family safe. You can start your free trial today, right this instant, by heading to aura.com/chatsports. We'll put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. Some of the benefits of Aura: financial fraud protection. These family plans can protect up to 5 people. Online and device security. You sign up with Aura and right away, all of your information safe from all of those fraudulent hackers out there. Identity theft protection as well. This is the all-in-one digital safety tool that is elite. Head to aura.com/chatsports. We're going to put that link in the comments section and the description of this video. Appreciate all of you for supporting us and Aura supporting what we do. Scourge, Giannis, third MVP next year, potentially. He has all the talent in the world. I mean, you can make the argument year in, year out that Giannis is the most valuable player, and I kind of think of the MVP award like this. You take that player away from that team, what are they? Who are they? The Bucks would be atrocious. They wouldn't have an identity, and they would be sorely missing him on both ends of the floor. He could very well win his third MVP. He's already one of the game's greats. That would further solidify that status. Rumple Foreskin. If Westbrook is traded, what team does a player like him belong on? Rebuild, tank, compete for a title. I think it's the San Antonio Spurs. I think that could be the move because they have some of the most cap space in the NBA. They can absorb that one-year contract at $47 million, which is way too much and exorbitant for what Russell Westbrook is as a player today. But basically, they would serve as a facilitator for a 3-team deal with the Lakers, and they'd be able to take on that contract by trading away DeJounte Murray. It looks as though they're going to tank. They're looking to rebuild to a certain degree after a couple of years of just being a mediocre basketball team. So it's San Antonio from that standpoint. As for a playing standpoint, I really can't think of a team that would want Russell Westbrook. Master Chef, Carmelo Anthony to the Knicks. Let's make it happen. Reunion, baby. Carmelo to the Knicks would be fun for a couple of reasons. I think he can still play as a pretty solid bench piece. He's been putting forward a lot more effort on the defensive end of the floor, and I think that's a big reason why he's been able to crack some NBA rosters a couple of years after he couldn't find a job. He can hit the three. He's always been able to hit that post-up mid-range. He's a good offensive player. Fadeaways in the pocket as well. And him coming back to the Knicks. Yes, his career didn't start there. It started with the Denver Nuggets, but a couple of great years in New York City. And the franchise and MSG hasn't been bumping in a little while like it was for Carmelo. Him coming back, it'd be nostalgic to a certain degree, but I actually think he could help the bench a little bit. SM, if the Lakers don't get Kyrie, what other moves will they make? They can't really do much else. I think they've kind of exhausted what they've wanted to do and accomplish. One, there's not really that many great free agents out there. Two, they needed depth. They needed to get a little bit younger and bring in some youth. They did it with Lonnie Walker. I kind of like Damian Jones as a backup center. Thomas Bryant, when healthy, is pretty solid. But yeah, other than that, the Lakers have 3 max contract guys, and it's really tough for them to do anything else with 3 maxes. Johnny295, Patrick Beverley to the Warriors would be amazing. Him and Draymond Green talking that smack. Hashtag NBA go Dubs. Johnny, that's great right there. I appreciate the excitement and enthusiasm. Patrick Beverley to the Warriors would be fascinating for a multitude of reasons. He's been said to be close friends with Steph Curry, and you think about him and Draymond Green sharing the basketball floor together, two of the best trash talkers in the NBA, two guys who it's really hard to match their intensity, especially on the defensive end. All pro caliber defenders, both of them are, and at that guard spot, Patrick Beverley would be able to lock down some of the best point guards, shooting guards, and even though there's a size deficit, some of the best wings in the NBA as well. You lose Gary Payton II, you bring in Dante DiVincenzo, Patrick Beverley would also help that. If there's a buyout with him in Utah, could he sign with the Warriors for cheap? That right there would certainly be intriguing. Make sure you subscribe to our Warriors channel, but also get into the comment section right now. Will the Warriors repeat this upcoming season? Y for yes, N for no, let us know. And Warriors today, all of our NBA properties, they continue to grow, including our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv. Do you want more NBA news, rumors, trade talk, free agency conversation, live question and answer segments? Turn on those noties and subscribe. Anish, what's up, brother? Do you think Cam Thomas will get Jordan Poole type role if he wins Summer League MVP? Similar players with very similar games, right? They can come in off the bench and they can pour it up in a hurry. Very good offensive players. Cam Thomas has some work to do to become a Jordan Poole type of guy. But Poole, if he was on a bad NBA team, I honestly think he could average 20 to 25 points per game. He can score from all three levels in a very similar way that Cam Thomas can, or vice versa. So Cam Thomas, yeah, I liked him at where the Nets got him so late in the draft 2 years ago, and I think he's going to be a pretty good scorer this upcoming year if Steve Nash wants to use him that way. Len's handcrafted wood. If that's your business, go support his business. Will the Celtics add another player? Danilo Gallinari, great value deal. Trading for Malcolm Brogdon, I loved it. By the way, it's Len's handcrafted wood sign. So that's his business right there. Will the Celtics add another player? Yeah, I'm not sure, man. I think they're pretty much set. I mean, they didn't really need to do all that much going into this offseason besides maybe find a backup center behind Robert Williams or get a true point guard as compared to Marcus Smart, who is not that. I think he's more of a combo guard, and they were able to fulfill the latter with Malcolm Brogdon. Jaden, which player did you think was going to be a stud who didn't fully reach their potential? Recently, Kevin Knox. I thought Kevin Knox was going to be really good. He was good in the Summer League, good year one, and then from that point, Tom Thibodeau was the coach, and Kevin Knox's game went downhill, and his confidence with that was shattered. Going to Detroit, can he redeem himself to a certain degree? Let's hope. But yeah, that's the one player who I certainly got wrong. Which NBA player was on the very first jersey that you owned? An awesome question right here. This is cool because we get to go back to our childhoods and go back to some really great days and think about these NBA jerseys and these throwbacks. Let me know right now. J. Harrell Obrador. Will the Warriors, sign Mac McClung to a two-way contract? I think he is deserving of it. I think that he can certainly play as a backup guard at the NBA level. I've talked a lot about it on Warriors Today. This guy is athletic. This guy has some bounce. He has some spring. He has some explosiveness. Not sure what he can do defensively. It's a little bit of a concern, but can finish around the rim, can pass it, can handle the basketball. I watch him and I'm like, this dude can play at the NBA level. Look at me. What are the odds of the Lakers missing the playoffs once again? I say 100 out of 100. If, let's say like LeBron and AD get hurt, they're screwed. If LeBron and AD are healthy, then I do think they make the playoffs because they're way too good to not make the playoffs. King Littleman 33, thoughts on Amani Bates recently? Him going to, Central Michigan was weird. One of the best players in the class after he reclassified. He went to Memphis. Yes, he was a little bit younger, but he was terrible last year for Memphis. His shooting numbers were dog. He's a little bit too skinny, needs to get a little bit stronger, and needs to become a more consistent offensive player. Albatross, last question in this mailbag. Who should sign Dennis Schroeder? Did the Houston Rockets bring him back? I'm not sure with the emergence of Josh Christopher, a player who I liked in the 2021 class. Detroit Pistons could make sense as just a veteran who can score the basketball and is proven to be a solid six-man. I think Detroit could be a solid option. Other than that, championship contending teams, I mean, they're pretty set with their respective rosters, so we'll see. Make sure you subscribe before we get on out of here so that you can join our mailbags here at Chat Sports. 100% free content. We're not behind a paywall, and we like to have fun as well. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. The real ones will hit that sub button right now. So we're getting ready to go over to Rumble for our after hours segment. Rumble.com/NBA Now. Do not miss out, where we will talk about the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry not shutting down the idea of a Kevin Durant trade. That right there, interesting. Clayton Lockhart, I always smash that thumbs up icon. Thank you, my man. D Saturday is in the chat. SM is here. He called Dennis Schroeder a clown. Jay Fish, Vito Santana, EJ Mono. Thanks to you guys for being a part of the show here. JK Memes, Brandon Roan. Who else we got? Nathan Bales. Torn. You guys are the best for supporting everything that we do. If you haven't subscribed, do so right now. But we are about to go over to Rumble. It's rumble.com/NBA Now. So with that, we're going to shut off the YouTube stream. You see the link down below, rumble.com/NBA Now.